Blumhouse Network. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Enema Podcast, here to flush the shit out of your personal taste. Zach is here. I'm Aaron. This is the debut episode. Be fucking excited.
That intro was shit.
Okay, I told Zach to be honest.
No, I'm joking. It was fine. See, I thought this new podcast would be dyke if we just we don't even have an intro or anything. We just fucking, there's no opening theme. They just press play and right away we just fucking get right to it. They'll be like, their minds will be blown. They'll be like, I just press play and I'm already hearing what I want to hear. That's dog.
So we'll preface everything by sort of talking about the concept here. See, way back when, before we started strictly doing commentaries for the Behind the Mask podcast, that's where most of you guys are going to know us from.
Now known as the BTM Podcast.
Basically, we used to do more of a standard podcast format. We usually used to do long form. I'm not saying this is going to be super long form, but we would have a main topic, which was usually a film back in the day that we'd be talking about or reviewing or something. But before we got to that, we'd have a segment where we could actually talk about relevant stuff, new headlines, and
then every once in a while you'd have the Shoot the Shit podcast where it's like we're just gonna talk and see what happens. We'll talk about what we've been watching recently and stuff like that.
Yeah, which, going forward, that could be part of the beginning segment, right? We don't really have it ironed out and how it's going to work, but I think we're going to start out playing it safe like that. Zach and I are going to talk about some new stuff. I've got some notations here, some stuff in the news that I've been wanting to address. These are things that we don't really get to talk about so much when we're, pretty much catering to a commentary. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do that, and then we'll get to the meat of our topic, which we decided the debut episode would be cool to discuss, Blade Runner. And that was a good idea. That was Zach's pitch because we've recently both discussed it on the commentaries.
That was your pitch, liar. You fucking liar, too.
Well, was it my pitch?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, what did you want to do?
Mine was happiness.
Oh, that's right. Zach wants to do happiness, which we're going to do.
See, that was another reason I want to do this show, because we do commentaries, and sometimes it's like, oh, he's never seen the movie, and I don't want the first time he sees it to be us talking over it. So, this is my way of, I've been mentally taking notes, all the movies that Aaron hasn't seen, like The Omens, and the fucking Eyes Wide Shut, and stuff like that. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to fucking unleash them. And he has to watch them.
So the idea, at least to start here, is, okay, we can make the topics films, like Zach just said. But I don't even necessarily want to limit to that. Maybe we'll, going forward, have an idea for a particular topic of something a little bit more broad, maybe not just particularly a film, but a topic in general. And then we could shoot it out to you guys, the listeners, and let you know, hey, we're going to be talking about Blade Runner, or hey, we're going to be talking about a whole freaking decade. It could be like, hey, we're going to talk about 90s, this, or whatever it is we want to talk about. And then maybe you guys could submit questions or comments or whatever you want, even things about news bits. Doesn't even have to be about the meat of the topic of the episode. And then we can use those questions and comments and make them designate the flow of the actual podcast and sort of weave them through the episode. And make it part of the show. Unlike the commentaries, which are a little bit more of a free-for-all, we don't really do any research. We just sort of hit the ground running. I read comments at the very end of the episode. It's a little bit more by the seat of our pants, where this one we can, have everything a little bit more integrated. But yeah, so Blade Runner's great. So, and Zach also touched on another good reason, I think, to do these is, frankly, I missed enjoying movies, right? So sometimes we watch so many movies for the commentaries on the BTM podcast. I don't watch as many movies for leisure. I'm usually opting out for a television series or doing something else. Now, for example, this gives me an opportunity to sit down like I did today and just lay in bed and watch Blade Runner and soak in a movie, and then actually not have to worry about a movie playing in front of us and talking about something that's going on, or just trying to stay entertaining and talking about some random stories. So we don't always stay on topic with the actual film, and we focus on just being funny or whatever. And that works too for that. But if we've already watched the film and we're just having a discussion and it's not playing in front of our face, we can actually, I think, stay more focused on the topic. That's what I think. But anyway, we're going to enjoy it. So that's basically what the gist. But anyway, Zach, let's go ahead and get started.
Any news you have collected for us to talk about, baby? I got a couple.
No, I've got some as well. Some hot topics lately. The first thing I want to discuss is they released the official Child's Play trailer for that remake.
I got that too, baby.
Okay, so let me tell you about this thing. When I watched it, I was left with a taste in my mouth that was awfully generic.
By the numbers.
It seemed like such a generic trailer, and the movie looked generic. It looked so sci-fi original movie to me. It didn't look very good. Audrey Plaza's in it, which is kind of weird. Is this the movie she really wants to use as a vehicle to branch outside of comedy? I don't know. I don't really see her as a mom. But that's not really my nitpick. The movie just didn't look good. It looked very, very basic.
Yeah. See, I didn't be automatically just like, oh, this is gonna be shit. To me, it's just like, oh, at the best, this, this might be okay. See, I go to movies now just like, oh, this movie, it could be okay, whatever. I never assume it's gonna be great, so it leaves some room to surprise me. But did you see the whole Andy's too old criticism controversy thing?
Oh, too old? I didn't really pay attention to that. How old did he look in the trailer? I don't recall.
I didn't even notice, but I noticed people talking about it. He looked about what you'd expect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, did you really think about it? I guess so. I mean, Andy Barclay in the first, how old was he turning? What was his birthday in the first movie? He was young.
He's probably like 5. This kid looks more like 9 or 10. Yeah. It's like, would he want a doll?
That's a good point. Before you mentioned that, I was thinking it really doesn't matter how old he is personally. That's one of the things they could tweak in a movie like that, and it's just as applicable. But you're right. Is a kid at a certain age going to have a doll? Maybe. Are they going to try and do the thing where they're going to try and play him off as if he's younger then? And they want to get an older kid so he's a better actor? Because that never goes well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's technically not a doll. It's kind of like a smart, it's like a robot too with this one, I guess.
So maybe it's going to be more AI and it's going to appeal to an older person. You know, maybe it's going to do more things than just be a talking doll. Maybe you're right there. But I'm just hoping we don't have a repeat of New Nightmare where they cast a kid that's like 10 years old and they write dialogue for him as if he's 3.
Exactly.
Mommy, blood.
No, that'd be Dog. That's the greatest movie ever made. And he's great. That's fucking the kid that played Gage.
That's not, dude. What? Freddy? We're talking about Freddy, dude. Oh, it is Gage. Fuck yeah, you're right. So, but yeah, exactly. You know that sometimes.
Yeah, he's terrible. I'm just joking, by the way.
No, but it's what they always do for teenagers, right? They get older 20-somethings to play teenagers because they're more experienced and they're better actors. I mean, that's what I assume that they're doing. Probably also too for legal rights too, laws and work rights and laws. You know, kids, whatever, labor shit, probably. But anyway, I don't remember when that comes out, but I can't say I'm too excited about it. Am I going to see it? I'll probably see it. You know, of course I will. I want to put a fair stamp on it, which that sucks though. When you have movies that are admittedly polarizing, it's like, I don't support them remaking Child's Play, especially when you know there's some drama behind the scenes with Don Mancini and the property rights and things like that. Don Mancini doesn't support it. Obviously, he thinks it's quite a low blow and a stab to his back that they're doing this as he's preparing his television series, which, by the way, they've officially titled Chucky, right? Which is fine with me. So he is taking it really personally, and I was listening to him on Mick Garris's podcast where he got pretty vocal about it, and they actually contacted him and asked for his blessing, like, hey, will you endorse the movie and we can put Don, as you an executive producer credit or something like that. And he basically told him to go sit on a pine cone and take a hike, because he's like, I know what that means. They basically just want my name on there to legitimize their project. You know, they don't want me. They don't really give a shit about my blessing. right?
Yeah.
They just want it to help legitimize what they're trying to cram down people's throats. And I can't get past the point that they're basically fucking over my livelihood. He said that, not verbatim, but he basically said that. He's like, they're messing with my life. Like, Chucky is my life. And it really is. His whole career has been Chucky. But with that said, I hate the fact that we may be on the side of the argument where I don't want to support the greedy studio remaking something like this. But at the same time, a lot of people are still going to put money into it because they're going to see it because out of curiosity, right? And that sets a bad example because a lot of these movies like Child's Play, they do really well the opening weekend because you have people like me or you that are still going to go see it because we got to put our stamp on it. And usually studios greenlight a sequel off that debut weekend, right? You know how that works. But then it just tanks. Boo! You know, think Rob Zombie Halloween 2, right? Something like that.
I'll tell you, it was a good idea to not show the doll in the trailer because that doll looks like shit. You see it?
Yeah, I'm not too hung up on it personally. From what I remember seeing, it was whatever. But
like basically, fucking Scream Factory got the rights to make the doll.
Okay.
And if you see
Scream Factory did?
I think so. Yeah.
Not Tots or anything like that.
Oh yeah, Trick or Treat Studios. They got the same name. It's the same name.
Scream. Okay. I was like a movie distributor. A movie. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did. Like, if it's what I've seen, it looks like garbage.
I just think it's a good idea not to show the doll for other reasons, right? The original movie was playing off of the fact of, hey, we don't know if the kid's crazy or not. It's hard to go back and think about how that came off to people when it first premiered because
but we saw the doll show the doll at all, like in the box, him playing with the doll or anything. Gotcha.
That makes sense. I wonder if they're going to remake the Big Chucky. Remember the Big Chucky in that commercial?
I'd be dog.
I still love the original movie, and like I said, Chucky's become such a part of the fabric of pop culture. We forget that. Oh yeah, if you remove all the sequels and you really think about when the first movie came out, nobody knew who Chucky was. Chucky wasn't an identity yet. He wasn't part of pop culture. And it was pretty effective, because they kind of play off the whole thing of, okay, well, as the viewer, is Andy crazy? Like, are the adults right? And they really want to commit him? Or because they don't show Chucky come alive until somewhere in the second half of the middle of the movie, like in the later middle. And it's really powerful when he first comes alive, and it's nuts. And now we just kind of associate him with having transgendered doll kids and Tiffany, and I don't know.
That's one of those things too. I don't know if I like the original Child's Play or the first sequel better. Part 2.
It's always been really tough between 1 and 2, and 1 and 2 are tonally similar, but 1 has that edge because it has that newness, right? It has. Like I said, Chucky not being a thing yet, and Chucky, it's extra potent when he comes alive at a certain point in the movie, and it's a little scarier.
To me, the only bad thing about the first one is they try to explain the possession stuff, and they put in the voodoo stuff. It's like, we didn't need to fucking just leave it like open-ended. We don't need to have it explained.
It's kind of cool though for him to have a couple of people to go back and kill once he's the doll. I mean, I like the scene where he goes and kills the Candyman looking dude, and I like when he goes back and kills what's his name, Eddie. What's his partner?
Caputo.
Eddie Caputo. That's pretty cool. Eddie Caputo.
That had nothing to do with the voodoo thing though. That was just.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was two of the same thing. They could have kept Eddie Caputo and dealt with he didn't have to pay Candyman looking dude to visit, I guess, and it still would have. I don't know.
And he got his mojo, like his fucking what's it called, voodoo doll.
Yeah,
that don't make no sense. That's not real, Chucky.
How do you want it? Broken leg? It's pretty funny. But anyway, so there's that. Another news bit I want to talk about is: did you check it out this week that there was some backlash over the? I think before they had released a teaser, but now they have is either the first official trailer or it's the second trailer of Pet Sematary, the remake.
It's what I got to, the new 2-minute Pet Sematary trailer.
So let me break this down. People are mad that there's one particular spoiler in it. Now, everybody, when I first saw the first trailer, I didn't know what they were talking about. I'm like, oh, well.
Let me ask, is that really a spoiler? Does anybody not know at this point? Like, it's a 20-something-year-old movie and, year-old book.
No,
is that even a spoiler?
No. So let me finish. So at first, when I was reading the headlines, I'm like, yeah, I was just like you. I'm saying, well, in the first trailer, the whole movie's spoiled, but we've all seen it. We all know it. And I was even kind of thinking when I saw the first trailer, like, it would suck to be someone that was young and really maybe never had seen the movie and never read the book, because this really does give away a lot of stuff. Or maybe it just seems like it's given away a lot because I know the movie so well and I know where each part is placed in the story. So maybe it's just my perspective on it, but that's not what they were talking about. In this second trailer, they revealed a spoiler that was specific to this adaptation, right?
Oh.
And they did a reversal, right? So...
Oh yeah, it's the daughter.
Fucking stupid. So they have young Gage, they have the older daughter, and they're making the daughter get hit by the truck. Now...
See, to me, that's not a spoiler, because I'm pretty sure if we watch the original trailer, it probably shows Gage get hit by a truck, or implies that he gets hit by a truck.
Have you seen the trailer?
No, but I guarantee it does.
Well, I mean, because you could easily see the slow motion truck and the shoe flying in the air being a perfect trailer bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to necessarily...
but it almost looks like they showed it because because after that, it implies like, oh, there's new stuff that happens that did happen in the book or the movie based on this new change. And it's like, oh, we get a little glimpse of the fucking mom seeing Ellie after she's come back, or it implies that and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, the whole gender thing, that doesn't... The swap, it doesn't bug me that they spoiled it necessarily. I mean, if I would have saw it in the theaters with fresh eyes, I probably would have been pissed. I'm glad I know, because I think it's stupid and it's weak. I don't think it's something to shake it up. I think it's the studios in this generation. They're being pussies because they don't feel like they can kill a kid now. Right?
That might have even been why they did it.
No, I'm pretty sure.
So is Gage gonna be like the Ellie? Is he gonna be talking to fucking Gage about like death and stuff?
Probably. Gage is probably gonna be a little bit older. He's not gonna be as young as he was. And the daughter, I wouldn't be surprised. How old's the daughter in this? She's probably a few years older than the original girl, right?
Maybe give or take a year or two.
I bet you that'll be the case. But I think it's all down to, there's a hierarchy. It's a little less risque to kill a preteen than it is a toddler or a young kid. And you just kind of go up the chain. I just think it's Hollywood being weak. I don't think it's them trying to be clever with the twist, right? In fact, I think that's one of the most powerful things of the original movie, that they went there. And it makes you feel, because you love the kid, right? He's such a cute little kid. He's like, he's saying cute little what is he saying to his daddy right before he gets smashed? Like, hey, go higher, daddy. What is he saying when he's flying the kite?
I don't remember.
Something like, oh. So... And then they build up to that scene where he's running out of the street, and it makes you feel intense. And Judd's like, oh, Gage, go out of the street, get him. Great. And then he gets smacked. It's like, oh my gosh. I just think they're neutering it a little bit. I'm not saying it's not going to be effective for a preteen girl to get hit by a truck.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the original movie is still going to be the better of the movies.
I'm pretty sure it will be. Now, is the same director who did it, is he doing this as well?
Says a producer or something.
Producing it? Yeah, I mean, like, I still don't like that It movie. Supposedly, there was a French publication that supposedly, I don't know if it's been validated completely, but I guess people are saying it seems legit. There's somebody that saw an unedited cut of the new It movie.
I saw that. And it's 3 hours long, and it's not as good as the first. It's like, oh, I could have just told you that based on most sequels.
Yeah, no, well, we could have told you that from the original It, the miniseries. The first part's better. The first part's better. And this one's going to be a lot more drama, I'm sure, just with the adults and stuff. But, I imagine it's before an edit, because the original movie was only like 2 hours and 10 minutes, something like that. And for this one to be 3 would be suicide. That's just ridiculous. So, and yeah, that I get it, one person doesn't speak for everybody, but, I don't know.
How'd they see it too? Is it the only people they're showing it to, like insiders? Like, well, why'd they show it to this guy?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, you always ask that question. Like, how do albums get leaked? They're obviously somebody that works on the inside. Like, what asshole is working on the inside or at a record studio? And there's always that asshole that leaks something, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, so who knows? It's always somebody on the inside that has it initially. We
also got a shot of Zelda's nasty ass fucking back in the trailer.
Didn't they also get Amanda Player in this new one?
I don't know.
Keeping tradition. They should give Ted Raimi work.
But that's the creepiest part of the original is Zelda.
Yeah. Next up in the news, we've already talked about 2 movies I don't want to see. We might as well go for a third here. Corey Feldman is announced to be starring in a Friday the 13th fan movie.
What?
Okay.
Is he going to play fucking Tommy Jarvis?
Well, I could kind of peruse here and find out, but basically it's actually directed by, who is it? What is her name? Fuck. See, Deborah Voorhees. You remember that actress? She played Tina in Friday New Beginning.
What? The best jugs in the series?
She's directing it, right? She's directing sort of a meta slasher, and it's called 13 Fanboy, but it's meta, so I don't really know. Yeah, it's obviously going to be weird. It's not going to be like a true thing. But no, it's not just got the Feldman in it. It's also got Dee Wallace. It's got CJ Graham from Jason Lives. It's got Tom Matthews from Jason Lives.
They already got Tom Matthews to reprise his role as Tommy Jarvis in a fan film.
Yeah, let's see here. Judy Aronson from Final Chapter, Tracy Savage from Part 3, Ron Sloan from A New Beginning, and like I said, Feldman at the top of the bill along with Dee Wallace. So who knows? It could be fun. I don't know how. There's a trailer here too you can watch. You guys can go look for it. I haven't watched the trailer. But basically, the director is saying 13 Fanboy melds the slasher style kills that Friday is famous for and the heart-pounding thrillers such as Hush and Cape Fear. We will be using all practical effects, no CGI, to honor the 80s slashers. It could be fun. So we'll see. It's good to see fucking Feldman getting a little bit of work that's not Zombie King. Man, dude, the poster for this is cringy though. Is this going to be like a YouTube exclusive? Where is this really going to premiere? If that's supposed to be a glimpse of the mask they're using, because I mean, clearly maybe there's rights that are at play here. It looks like the Red Skull from Marvel Comics. It looks really weird. Anyway.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Well, there's that. Did you have a news bit you want to talk about?
I got one more. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, yeah.
Del Toro produced new movie. It put out a new poster, which I don't like. I think they should have recreated the classic fucking book cover.
The tree, the clown.
Yeah,
that clown. I saw the cover too, and you know what? It looked like a generic sci-fi movie to me. It looked like a generic TV movie.
Yeah, it's made to look like one of the stories in the book, but it's like, yeah, this doesn't sell me on this. And they've also put out 2 11-second promos.
I didn't see any of those.
Based on like random 2 stories.
Everything from that cover though, from the font to the image, it looked generic. It looked so basic. It didn't do anything for me. It's
a basic bitch. I'm actually I'm looking forward to checking it out. Hopefully it doesn't suck, because I always love those books. But I'm looking forward to they're making a documentary just called Scary Stories, and it's just a documentary about those stories, baby.
Yeah, well, while we're on the topic of anthology stories, maybe we could also talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark, that whole movie, and that's getting to be revived as a TV series as well. That all I know is the headline.
We're getting, I was just saying not that long ago, like, what happened to the fucking anthology series, the horror anthologies, baby? And now they're coming back, baby. We're getting Twilight Zone. See, I was listening to you guys' Bird Box commentary, and you couldn't remember Twilight Zone, the title. Like, oh yeah, there's a new horror anthology series getting revived. What is it? I can't. I don't remember the title. It's like, oh, it's only the king of horror anthologies, you asshole.
Well, you know what? So there was obviously talk about M. Night Shyamalan and Ding Dong rebooting Tales from the Crypt, and without the bumpers, with the actual Crypt Keeper and all that stuff, just going straight to the story. Why don't they resurrect the whole thing? Would that? I don't ever get excited for reboots, but if they said, "Hey, we're going to dig up the puppet, we're going to bring back John Cassier," and they could easily legitimize it if they brought back the Crypt Keeper and put on that whole production. I would give it way more attention.
Exactly. If there's no Crypt Keeper, what's separating it from anything else?
But would that not get you super excited if they brought back the Crypt Keeper in the old set and they just had new stories?
That's one of the great, the best parts about those horror anthologies is how do they, what's the wrap up? How do they tell these stories? When it's just like, oh, it just fades from black and the story starts, that's boring. We want the host character.
But even, they're reviving Are You Afraid of the Dark, right, to a TV series. They're not going to have the original cast. It's going to be a bunch of new kids, if they even have the campfire bumpers. They might not. They might ditch it. So
I can't imagine them not. That'd be dumb.
But if they do that stuff, usually there's something that's different. But, doing Twilight Zone, they're not going to have Rod Serling. They're going to have some other guy if they have somebody.
Have Jordan Peele doing it.
Is he actually going to be the host, though?
I think so. It shows them like all the promos and stuff.
Okay. But still, it's different. It's not what you used to know. But that's what's good about a puppet. And John Cassier, he's still alive. He's doing the con circuit. I'm sure he would come back and provide.
Would they be like, oh, we're redesigning the puppet. We're going to recast his voice.
That's stupid. Why? Just legitimize it. And it could actually just kind of gel with the old series. You could literally just say, hey, it's 20 years later, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could literally bring it back and call it season 9 or wherever it left off. I don't know. That would be pretty cool. And you could still put it on HBO or wherever channel you wanted to, and you can get these big celebrities to do it just like they did. It can be the stars of today. Who cares? I accept that time moves forward. But just, I don't know. I just don't know why they don't put me in charge, is all.
Yeah, they need to get me in there. I would fix everything.
Yeah.
I know what to do. I'm the decider.
Tell you what, man, they should also put me in charge of Disney, because those guys are looking to revisit Nightmare Before Christmas, which sounds stupid. It sounds ridiculous. And they don't really know on what they're going to do yet, whether they're going to make a sequel or whether or not they're going to do a live action thing like the trend's been with Lion King coming out and Aladdin coming out with the blue genie Will Smith that looks ridiculous.
They're live action. Now you get to watch cartoon lions in a real life background setting, but it's still live action, even though it's CG.
Is not the whole thing CG? They're using real backgrounds and sets?
I don't fucking, who knows?
I think the whole thing is CG, so it's not live action. It's still a cartoon. It's a different type of cartoon. But so with Nightmare Before Christmas, it's a lose-lose for me. If they make a sequel, it's not going to capture the charm of the original, and they're going to use CGI. They're not going to use stop motion, even though I think you were telling me, Zach, that right, they could do something with CGI to still make it look like stop motion,
stylize it or
whatever. I definitely don't want to see him do a live action or however they think they could pull that off. And if that's the case, live action, that means a remake, because they would just go the remake route, and I don't want that either. I guess I'd rather have a sequel than a remake if they can get most of the cast back. Now, the guy who played the mayor, Otho in Beetlejuice, he's dead. You can't get him. But Chris Sarandon's still alive. He's still working. He could play Jack Skellington. What's her face? Kevin's mom. Why can't I fucking think of her name? Catherine O'Hara. She's still alive. She works. She could play Sally. You could get You could get all the same team back together. And as long as they legitimized it like that, even get Tom Selleck. Not Tom Selleck. I keep wanting to say fucking Magnum PI. The guy who did James the Giant Peach. Very similar name. I don't know why I can't spit it out. Get the same director back. Tim Burton can do his thing and put his name on it and produce it, and it can blah, blah, blah. We don't really need him.
I'll have to have Johnny Depp play some character with crazy hair, though.
Yeah, they probably put Johnny Depp in it. You're right. But that's driving me absolutely bonkers that I can't. I keep wanting to say Tom Selleck, and that's not his name. But
I don't like the movie enough to know anything about it. So
really, you did. It was nobody liked it when it came out, as far as theatrically.
I've seen it once, and I never had the desire to go back to it.
Yeah, I love it, man. I got that movie on VHS when it came out. I didn't get to go to theaters a lot back in the day, but I saw it. Yeah, I got the VHS copy, and I loved it. And then, of course, high school came around, and it had taken on this pop culture entity thing, and all the fat goth chicks had tattoos and were dressing with them and had oversized t-shirts with on, and it got adopted by that culture. And I was getting really played out on it, but I never let it dampen my love for the movie. But I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, do you have any other news bits? The only other thing I had was Halloween and fucking Jason Blum saying, we actually don't have the rights to the sequels. I know we said we were going to do 2 and 3 back to back, but I actually can't do anything right now.
No, I don't got anything else.
Yeah, by the way, I got to correct myself. I kept wanting to say Tom Selleck, director Henry Selick. He's the guy that did James the Giant Peach as well, and things like that. But Anyway, yeah, it's so stupid. So he was like, I want to make 100 of them. He said, he's like, I want to make 100 of them, but for right now, working on the rights, and I'm happy with just doing one, and we'll just kind of work our way through it. I'm like, I'm damn right. I'm sure he wants to do 100 of them because he did 100 of his other movies that are under Blumhouse, and they're going to run that shit into the ground, man. We know that.
Exactly.
I got to tell you, the more I watch that movie, I have it on Blu-ray, it gets worse with every viewing.
Really?
Yeah. So I've watched it once in the theaters, and I was pretty much middle in the road on it. But then we watched it for a commentary, and I was like, okay, I like it a little bit less because now I don't know. Now when you take away any little bit of shock value I got out of a first viewing, it makes it it's like what's left. And I watched it one more time on the Blu-ray. I'm like, I was bored. I was looking through my phone. I can't stay on this.
Maybe you're watching it too much within a small frame. But like I didn't get the desire to watch it again ever.
Well, I had already pre-ordered the Blu-ray or the 4K.
Imagine like watching fucking part 5 that many times in a row.
Ugh. But no, I had already pre-ordered the 4K, and it's like, well, I at least want to see the quality of this thing and check out features and stuff. So I sat and watched it. I'm like, yeah, maybe. But dude, there's been movies I've been all about when they first came out, and I saw them in the theaters 3 times, and I watched them when they came out on home release. So it's not necessarily that. But anyway, that's it for news for now. Remember, we want you guys to submit different topics you'd like us to discuss that's going on in the world of film, or whatever you want. It might be personal questions, but just submit them. We'll make sure to get them answered. And like I said, we'll make sure they become more or less a topic of our discussion in general. But stay tuned, because now we are going to be getting into the heart of the matter of this podcast and talk about Blade Runner, the final cut.
I need your deck. This is a bad one, the worst yet. There was an escape from the off-world colonies 2 weeks ago. 6 replicants, 3 male, 3 female. They slaughtered 20...
A Blade Runner's job is to hunt down replicants. Manufactured humans you can't tell from the real thing.
What's this? Roy Batty. Probably the leader.
There was just one outfit making replicants that superhuman. The Tyrell Corporation.
Commerce is our goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto.
I was looking for 6 replicants in a city of 106 million people.
You ever see this girl, huh?
Never seen a Muslim.
What I didn't know was they were looking for me.
Time to die.
All right, no more bullshitting. Let's talk Ridley Scott's classic to a lot of people in the pop culture mainstream as a whole, Blade Runner. We're talking about the final cut because, according to the interwebs, that is sort of the most beloved version. That's what Zach told me, so that's the one I watched, right?
Yeah, there's one part of the movie where people like that should have been there, but I think this is the version most people are like, yeah, this is the way to go.
So now I have the 30th anniversary Blu-ray that had all the cuts in there, and I have said before, I've watched this movie one time, and it was about 10 years ago, and I couldn't tell you which version it was. I can honestly say I don't remember no fucking unicorn, but...
Yeah, see, that's the big change. And like the theatrical version had voiceover where he was, which is funny because you think a movie that's like, oh, it's like a film noir type of movie, that would work in its favor. But everybody says that's like the worst, especially that in particular. Like, oh, apparently there's a story about how Harrison Ford didn't like it, so he intentionally did it shitty so they wouldn't use it. But who knows? That almost sounds like one of those urban legends, like one of those things like, oh yeah, I did that. Those takes really shitty. I did that on purpose though. I just didn't want to do it. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to admit that I'm a shitty actor.
Well, on that note, I've always talked about Harrison Ford in modern day, where he's kind of come back for the paychecks, reprising his roles in Star Wars and of course the sequel to this movie.
But to me, like that's just another way of saying you're a shitty actor. Like, yeah, I don't like something. I don't care that I'm getting paid to do a job. I will do it bad on purpose.
I agree. But what I'm saying is I always figured, okay, well, this is him just not giving a shit. And because he's been really vocal about Star Wars. Like, I just don't, he always liked doing Indiana Jones, didn't like doing Star Wars. And I'm like, okay, well then old Harrison Ford must be good Harrison Ford or whatever. But I was watching this movie and I really don't know. I'm like, is his performance in this really half-assed here as well? Or is it the fact that he almost has no dialogue? He really doesn't talk very much in this movie. Rutger Hauer has more lines than anybody. The fucking replicant, the robot, has more lines than anybody in the movie.
Yeah, to me, Deckard's the least interesting character, and to me, you could have told this story from any other character's perspective, and it probably would have been a better movie.
He doesn't talk very much, and it's always mumbled, and it's always monotone, and so I don't know. Is that just Harrison Ford in general? Because I was never a big Harrison Ford fan, to be honest with you.
Yeah, should we give an overview of the plot so that we at least lay the groundwork so people can follow what we're talking about? Because once we start nitpicking stuff, it's probably going to be out of sequence and hard to follow. So we should probably do that.
Okay, so I'll kind of give it a go. I might leave out specific details, but as far as the names of the corporations and blah blah. But basically, we live in the distant future of 2019.
November 2019. So it's still in the future, guys. This could all happen in a couple months.
Okay, and it's a neo-noir movie, which I do like it. I like the setting. That's what the movie has going for it. So it's in the future, 2019, and we now live in a world where basically artificial life is everywhere. It's even taken over animals, right? Animals are extinct and they have artificial owls and artificial creatures and then there was this big company, kind of like the Weyland Corp in Alien, and they have produced these robots or replicants to sort of do the bitch work, right? They send them to outside of this world planets to do some kind of bitch work. I don't think they ever really detail that too much what they do, but
basically slave labor is what I got.
Slave labor. But somewhere along the way on those planets, or on one of those planets, there was a mutiny, an uprising, and this particular movie chronicles 4 of them that escapes whatever planet that was, and they make it back to Earth, and they dig up Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, to find him, hunt him, and kill him, because he's what they call a Blade Runner. Why they call his kind of officer a Blade Runner, I don't really know how that pertains to replicants, but he doesn't actually kill them. He quote unquote retires them, which I think is pretty cool, actually. So the premise is really, really, really cool.
And they're stealing the ship and going to Earth to find their creator because they want to get them to fucking change something about their design.
Well, so, and honestly, they're going to find their creator, and I don't know if I might have missed this tidbit. I'm not sure if they know from the beginning that they only live for 4 years, and that's why they're finding the creator.
That is why I think, yeah.
But I couldn't tell if they knew that from the beginning or if they found that out along the way, right?
See, it's set up as if it's going to be a morality tale. So right from the beginning, it tells you in that opening screen crawl, it's not killing them, but they're retiring them. So it seems like they're setting forth, okay, who's the bad guy here? Because, these robots were made as slave labor. So doesn't that mean the humans are being shitty to them?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of okay. So and then it's described that we gave them this fail safe to where they only live 4 years, so they have small life expectancies because we don't want them to develop human emotions. So it's what does it matter? Because both times I watched this, I was like, what does it matter if they develop human emotion? If they get empathy and they don't want to go around killing people, is that a good thing? So it kind of makes it look like the humans are we don't want them to, be sad whenever we, fucking make them do slave labor. Well, so we can't let them do that.
Yeah, when in reality, it was to prevent what eventually inevitably happened and having a mutiny and uprising.
So I was thinking, it's going to be this morality tale. And both times I finished the movie, I feel like they did nothing with that. So it's not like that.
Well, it kind of was. That was the underlying thing of it, I think. I'm not saying they hit it home for you, but that's exactly what it is.
See, the only time I get that is whenever Rutger Hauer's character, spoiler alert at the end, hopefully everybody's seen the movie, but he decides he has a choice where he can let Decker die at one point or save him, and he obviously has, developed human emotions and decides to save him, and that's the only time it ever gets like that. But
no, back up. That's not. So that is the best scene in the movie, right? I'll say that for this movie, visually storytelling is great. Like, it's really good, especially in that scene where there's the long extended after he picks up Decker and it's raining, and there's a lot of just them looking back at each other, back and forth, and just sort of speaking with their faces. And then Rutger Hauer has this monologue, and he's basically saying, what does he say? Like, very soon my memories will be lost like tears in rain, right? What he's doing. And it's really cool. And
apparently that whole thing was improvised, his dialogue.
Yeah, it was really, really good. But there's another point in the movie. Rutger Hauer is the best character in the movie because, like he said, there's an underlying thing here. At the end of the day, the robot was the most human of them all, right? So remember when Daryl Hannah's character got killed and he takes a moment, he's really feeling bad. He's like touching her and he kissed her and he was really sad that she passed away. And he really wanted to save her. That's why he went and sought out the one engineer who could get him close to the leader of the company, right? He really wanted to save her. You could tell that. And then he actually, at first, I know they were manipulating that engineer, the one that wanted to play chess or whatever with the guy. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. They manipulated him, but you could tell they kind of liked him. And then when he killed the creator right in front of the Sebastian was his name.
Did you know who the creator was? The fucking Lloyd, the bartender from The Shining.
Oh, it was?
He's moving up in the world, baby. He got a good job.
Okay, so but he literally after he kills him, he doesn't kill him with malintent. He's not being malicious. He genuinely wanted a cure and an answer, and you could tell. It was sort of an in the moment, I was angry at the father, right? Just like a Christian gets mad at God every now and again and throws their fists in the air and, why have you forsaken me? That's what it was. It was a thing of passion. And afterwards, I think a normal cliche villain would have just maliciously killed the father and then would have killed Sebastian and everything else too. But no, after he does that, he looks at Sebastian and he literally says, I'm sorry, and you could tell he means it, right? He sighs.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't pick up on stuff like that because Harrison Ford's character is so boring. I think he's just the weakest character in the movie. And if we spent more time with those characters, I would have noticed shit like that, I guess.
So he looks at him after he killed the father, and he tells him sympathetically, I'm sorry, right? He tells him that, but later on, Decker is told by, I don't know, the fat guy that assigned him the job, right? His superior. He told him
the sheriff from Critters, baby.
Yeah. In passing, he tells them they found that engineer dead. So Rutger Hauer did kill him, right? So it's like, hey, am I sorry because you had to see that? Or I think he was saying, I'm really sorry that I have to kill you. But regardless, he showed emotion. And I think Decker is kind of supposed to be dry because it is sort of the opposite where, because they kind of played it off. This is a Philip K. Dick adaptation, right? And it's kind of like the Total Recall where they kind of made it with like some ambiguity, right? There was a lot of people debating on whether Decker was a replicant the whole time or not.
Yeah, that's one of the things in the movie it leaves you with. And that's a big reason people hate the final cut or that fucking thing with the unicorn specifically, because it wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. It was a leftover scene from Legend, and he put it in there. That's
what I was going to assume it was from, because you told me it was from another movie. I'm like, well, he directed fucking Legend, and that's the only movie with the fucking unicorn, right?
Yeah, so it's basically his way of spelling out like, Decker's a replicant, and everybody hates that idea.
I don't think the replicant thing serves it very well because I think you want it to be opposites. You want the human being to be the robot, essentially. The human being's the one that has emotion, that's willing to, like I said, build these things to make them say slave labor, yada yada.
Yeah, which is funny because it's almost like Ridley Scott is just an old man that doesn't understand his own movies now. Because he's very in your face. Like, he is a replicant. I have decided that.
But no, so it doesn't make sense because the final cut is supposedly the one that Ridley Scott fully endorses. But it doesn't make sense because in my research, it was, even when the movie was relatively new, it was a big hodgepodge because the writer and Harrison Ford both didn't want Deckard to be a robot, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the producers wanted it to be ambiguous. And then it was, what's his face? Fucking the director, Ridley Scott, who wanted him to be, oh, you're right, replicant, right? Fuck. Okay, you're right. My bad. So I was getting it mixed around. So yeah, I mean, I get it with the final cut and at first when I watched it, I was like, okay, that's really confusing. He's all of a sudden having this flash with a unicorn. That's really out of left field. But obviously, if you stick around for the rest of the movie and you see the other, Sean Young's character, who is a good character, right? The replicant who doesn't realize she's a replicant.
Yeah, see, the story, the movie could have been told from her point of view, and it, again, would have been a better movie.
Well, she's a good character because she had the implanted memories, and that's the new model that he was kind of working on. All right, great. And then by the end of it, they have that stupid plot device of the origami.
Edward James Olmos character is like making these little origami figures throughout the movie.
The origami, well, and he has the origami unicorn, right? And you kind of see it throughout the movie. And then he leaves Deckard at the end of the movie with the task of, well, you got to go take out Sean Young's character, because we have that whole subplot where he basically rapes her. Did he actually?
Yeah, it's one of those things that was only cool. Now it's like, oh yeah, they say no, that's it. But now, like back in the day, you could kind of try to persuade them in movies and in real life. So he does this thing where he's like, say, what does he say to her? I don't even remember.
So he's instructing her like, say, kiss me, right? Kiss me. And I don't know. I was waiting for him to say, now say, fuck me, daddy. But he was instructing her every the way. And she looked very uncomfortable, but I have to remember she's a robot. Maybe she just was learning. But the whole scene, maybe it was meant to be two-way like that. Like, okay, you can look at it for what it is, that this is just a robot who doesn't understand and she's being taught and she's willing, but you can also look at it through society's viewpoint of, hey, this is a guy that's pressuring a woman into fucking rape. I don't know if they actually had sex or if he just, or
another instance of them mistreating robots because
that
whole thing,
taking advantage of a robot, which blows me away. She acted like she didn't know what she was doing, but you think the guy that created her would have fucked her a million times over. I don't know. You think anybody that's making a lifelike woman sex robot's going to make her a sex robot?
Yeah, but that's usually why we want robots.
Yeah, I mean, we give them other functionalities and other jobs on paper, but we all know they have a second obligation, a main obligation. But no. So yeah, I think it's that way too. I think maybe we're looking at it as, hey, the human being is taking advantage of something yet again, and they're in this situation less humane. Because, I mean, at this point in the movie, you've seen no emotion from Harrison Ford, but you've seen Sean Young cry. She's had tears. Yeah. She's shown emotion. She was clearly upset when she found out officially by Deckard that she was fake. She came to his apartment trying to prove to him that, hey, I am real. Here's a picture of me and my mom.
So that was something that confused me. Does the creator want them to be harder to tell from like humans?
I don't know. Is it for the sake of them too? It's to give them implants and memories. Is it for the sake of the robots to not know and have a happier existence, but they're only going to live 4 years still? Yeah. Or was the new model going to have a longer life expectancy? Because he explained to Rutger Hauer that, well, there's nothing we can do about you, once we implant such and such, but that he didn't necessarily speak for the later models. I don't know. I was confusing. Mm-hmm. But maybe he just wanted her to give a convincing orgasm when he fucked her. Maybe, I don't know. But my thing is too, is if they were to carry that out long term, then he already said that you got the implants from the creator's niece, right? All her little fake memories and stuff like that. So, I mean, were all these replicants going to run around with the same fucking memories, or were they going to get one person for each replicant, or do they have any ambitions of it really going past that model? Because I guess they imply that the only replicants on Earth in this movie were the 4 that escaped from that one planet and Sean Young, who was the direct assistant to the leader. But he got the order to kill her too at the end. Like I said, he pushed her into a corner. fucking I don't know if he actually had sex with her, if he just kissed her, if that's where they left it. I don't really know, but I guess he had feelings for her because he came back for her after he was ordered to kill her. But then,
which is a little weird because I see that criticism too. Ford falls in love with Young's character. Why? Because they have no chemistry on screen. And apparently that was they hated each other making this movie, and that might be a big reason why.
I hear a lot of people that like,
but it works because she's supposed to be a robot.
But then he's ordered to take her out too, and he goes and looks for her, and he almost succeeds, but then one of the other replicants that was really the bad one intervenes, and she gets away, but then she ends up taking the gun that almost killed her and saving Decker's life, right? Mm-hmm. And at this point, he owes her one, and they go back to, I think, his place, and I think that's where the kissing happens, right? Maybe that's the sequence of events, I'm not sure. But she essentially asks him, hey, look, so if I disappear and I go up north or whatever, are you going to come hunt me down? He tells her no, because he now owes her one. So he has a little bit of compassion there, but he says that doesn't mean other people aren't going to go after you. So, but then he comes back. He's given the orders after Rutger Hauer dies. He's given orders to take her out by Edward James Olmos, right? And Edward James Olmos leaves him with this line that comes back at the very, very end. What does he say? It's too bad. What does he say? It's too bad she's not going to live, you know?
I thought it was a Rutger Hauer line that played at the end. Or am I wrong?
No. So after Rutger Hauer died, Edward James Olmos came back, and he was basically at the scene, I think, and I think he got the orders to kill Sean Young now, to go find her. He had promised her he wouldn't, and he says, quote, "It's too bad she won't live, but then again, who does?" Right? He just summed up the thematics of the movie in one line. Great. Then, instead of taking out the orders, he goes back to where she's staying, which I assume is still his apartment, I guess, and she's sleeping, right? And he basically tells her to get up, and I guess they're implying that they're going to run away together. Mm-hmm. I guess. And as they're walking out of the hall, he sees the fucking origami thing, the origami unicorn, and then he plays the memory back in his head that he had just heard of that quote, right? You know, who really lives, who really dies. And then that's where they leave it off. And I think that's where people get confused because, okay, great. He sees this origami, and was that memory he had of the unicorn earlier just an implanted memory, right? Because it's just...
Yeah, that's the only thing I can imagine it ever being, because unicorns aren't real. So like when I first saw this, I was like, oh, he's a replicant? That has to be an implanted memory if you saw a unicorn. But I wasn't sure. I didn't want... This is the first time I watched this was this cut.
But that's what it has to be. So if he made that cut, this cut really does imply that he's a replicant.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing. Like, you asked the guy that wrote the original story was interviewed on it. He's like, was it ever intended that Decker might be a replicant? He's like, no, never, ever. And so this is just something that Ridley Scott decided. There's a really funny quote about like him kind of justifying why he decided to put this cut out with this scene in it and stuff. Maybe I'll find it, send it to you after. It's pretty funny.
Well, clearly it's not going to be canon because in the new Blade Runner 2049, I think is what it is, Decker's still alive.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because Decker's still alive, but it never made sense before because Decker had this job for years, presumably. It just doesn't make sense whenever you apply any fucking thinking to it.
Well,
I don't know why he thought it was a good idea.
Well, I mean, how do we know he had that job? Decker thinks he has that job.
Oh, it could have been implanted.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess if the fucking his bosses were in on it too.
So I'll give a little bit of pass there, but in 2049, the sequel, he's fucking old as shit. He's lived past 4 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, clearly. And so they obviously went with the original idea that Decker's a human, but
we still haven't seen the sequel, by the way.
I haven't. Maybe there's some twist there that I don't get.
Maybe he found the cure to it or something.
He found the cure. But Ridley Scott, let's assume there is no cure and he's just a human. Ridley Scott gave the sequel full endorsement. He loved it. And I don't know if he was a producer on it or whatever. He didn't.
He was something.
Yeah, so maybe he just flip-flops like a motherfucker. I don't know. But I tell you what, people, I don't think it was a hit. I think it financially was a lot like the original, or it didn't do so well, but people love the movie. Critically, it was a favorite of that year, and I still haven't seen it, but it's a shame that he couldn't have put his name on that, because he literally chose to do Alien over that movie, right?
Yeah.
And Alien Covenant was not so good. Now, I'm wondering because I don't know, I don't think Ridley Scott's, if he directed the same script that the other guy did, I just have to believe that it still would have been as good. Because Ridley Scott, he can direct a movie. I think it's when he starts having all this crazy control over everything, maybe these days.
Yeah, I remember when what was the one before Prometheus? People were shitting on that, and I thought I was defending it a bit. I thought it.
I don't hate it. I like Prometheus actually. It's a fucking mess. Don't get me wrong, but I like it. Mm-hmm. And I like where they were going with it, and I was really excited about the world that they were going to build, and that they, insinuated with the ending, but they aborted it. They aborted the whole thing, and I don't know. And even down to the wire, he still had that plan. But then you had what's his face, Neil Blomkamp coming out saying, "Hey, I want to make a legit alien movie with the xenomorphs," and that was gaining a lot of steam with Fox's support too. And then it became, well, we can have both. Ridley Scott can have his Prometheus universe exploring that whole side of the story, and then we can carry on what fans really love. And I think he got a little intimidated by that, because they put the kibosh on that quick, and you could tell Ridley Scott made some sort of deal with the studios, like, okay, we'll call my movie Alien, and I'll incorporate the xenomorph if you just get that other fucking guy to bug off. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what it seemed like. And it just changed everything dramatically. And it's like, okay, great. So now we had Prometheus, and this movie should have been just called Covenant, right?
Yeah.
But now it's all fucked up. You had Prometheus, then it's like Alien, Covenant, and the next one would have been like Alien After, like what the okay, so this wasn't a spinoff. It's just, they almost had a good thing going. And I really liked the character. Well, I didn't actually. That was the part I didn't like about Prometheus, is I hated all the supporting characters. But I like Naomi Rapace, or whatever her name is, the actress. I thought she was cool.
From the first Prometheus?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
But I didn't like anybody else in the movie. I liked Fassbender, and I liked her.
She's the only one I remember.
Yeah. Well, I liked Fassbender, but I didn't like all the supporting players. But she was good. She was a much better heroine than the chick they got for Covenant.
I don't even remember that. See, I saw that more recently, and I don't remember.
No. So the fact that they started Covenant with, yeah, I killed her. She's dead. She died between the last movie. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Great. Is this Alien 3 all over again? Mm-hmm. It's like you just kill off Newt and Michael Biehn. It's kind of fucked up. It literally was them pulling an Alien 3, which upsets me, because I don't know. It's dumb. But speaking of that, though, I think James Cameron said he wants to revisit Alien. He wants to wants to somehow support the notion of Neil Blomkamp's Alien going forward, which at this point I'm down for.
Yeah.
I always liked his ideas about it. It was great. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of all these retcons Hollywood's doing, but I guess if that's better than them rebooting it, and that's better than them continuing to kill the franchise with really shitty sequels, so I guess I'll take it. Mm-hmm. But I like his idea. I like the idea of giving Michael Biehn work, and Sigourney Weaver, and
the Weaves.
And you know what? Neil Blomkamp alone, his name already has credit, because the sci-fi movies he's done are pretty good. At least I've seen 2 of the 3, and the 2 I've seen are good. And not to mention, if you get James Cameron as a producer backing that, that's got some weight to me. That's a lot more weight to me than James Cameron putting his producer name on the new Terminator, but getting Tim Miller to direct that. Like, that's not nearly as cool. Mm-hmm. Tim Miller hasn't proven himself to be a sci-fi guy, right? He did Deadpool. Like, I'm not really that excited. But like I said, Neil Blomkamp with Cameron's producer, that works for me totally. But yeah, the movie in general, how did I feel about it? Because like I said, I watched a version 10 years ago, and I was quite underwhelmed. How do I like it now?
Me too, back when I watched it. Yeah.
Now, I don't recall, you said the old version the theatrical version had a narrator, right? Narration talking?
Throughout the whole movie, yeah.
Doesn't that, but it seems like that would work. I don't remember what
I guess, yeah, it seems like it would work because it's supposed to be a noir. That's like a staple, right? But apparently it was so bad, like the way he was doing it and shit, and And apparently it was a way for the studio wanted them to add that as a way to like, oh yeah, kind of explain what's happening throughout the movie because we think the audience won't get it.
There's certain little parts where I don't think it would have hurt to do a little explanation at something,
right.
But you can tell the movie was made for that narration because it's so bleak and quiet. I get the movie's bleak in general; it's super bleak, but there's just a lot of non-dialogue. There's no dialogue anywhere. It's very quiet the whole movie, which you could say kind of works. I mean, I didn't mind it being so quiet and dreary. It was whatever. I think I've read that there were some criticisms with the pacing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I feel about it. It was a slow movie, but I didn't think it was disjointed, if that makes sense. It was it had a consistency to it. But I wonder if you had that narration, if it would have helped it a little bit, because it's just a lot of slowness and not even talking
Yeah, there's a couple slow scenes. You remember the scene where he goes and meets the stripper?
Yeah, and that's one of the replicants he has to kill, yeah.
That scene could have been completely removed from the movie and we would have lost nothing.
Well, he had to kill her.
They could have just changed it from how many got out to like, 2 of them got out.
Oh, yeah.
Or 3 of them got out because the one guy at the beginning.
Yeah, the one guy at the beginning, I guess he plays a part, but at the end of the day, the 2 most important are Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah, right? They're the 2 big ones.
But yeah, that scene, that voice he does, did you get the feeling he was doing that because he wanted that scene to get cut out?
Yeah, that weird accent, he was trying to...
Yeah, why was he doing that? She doesn't know who he is. He could just be himself. She wouldn't know.
That was awkward. Yeah, I didn't understand that at all. I think he should have just kind of kept playing it the way he was playing it the whole movie. But anyway, so... I don't know. I guess right now I have to take people's word for it that the narration was bad, but without having seen it or remembering what it was like.
The one part I saw of the narration was fucking terrible. It was at the end of the movie after Rutger Hauer gives his whole speech, he pops on and it basically explains what the meaning of the speech was. It's like, oh
God, that's as bad as the psychotherapist explaining the whole plot of Psycho at the end, right?
Yeah. To me, that it works in that movie though, because I don't know. That was the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time, but people weren't like fucking stupid in 1960. It's not like people were. I get it. No one ever had seen a movie like that with a twist like that. But I think
back then they wanted people to just walk out knowing exactly what, instead of you walk out. Because imagine if it just ended right after Norma comes out, they shoot him or whatever. And then it just ends. So that would be like, people would be like, huh? Scratching their head a bit.
No. Well, you could have still had him there and lock up and stuff like that and had a little bit of a dialogue. But I think it would have been way more effective if they didn't have that guy come in and explain everything. And then you would have had people walking out of the theater be like, that's what happened, right? Yeah, he was dressing as mom. It would have.
Yeah, it would have been probably better to edit that one.
It would have spawned a lot more dialogue, and I think it was pretty clear on what happened in Psycho. And to me, if there's anything you can cut out of that movie, it's that. That's it though.
Those old audiences, you gotta hold their hand. They're too stupid.
Yeah, well,
that's why.
But anyway, back to this movie. I just don't know. Like I said, let me put it this way. I guess if it's terrible, I don't want it in there. But if we could somehow magically have good narration in it, I could see how it would fit great in parts of this movie. And I'd be interested to see it. But as a whole, like I said, how do I feel about this movie now? Watching it the way I did 10 years later. Tastes change. You get older. Do I like it better than I remember it? I guess I do, right? Because I found a lot of little things I do like about it, but...
Yeah, I think I'm roughly about the same on it.
Yeah.
If I do like it a little bit better, it's just a bit. And I think it's mostly like just by, the same thing happened with, like I made it a point to, I'm going to watch all of Stanley Kubrick's movies I haven't seen this year. And I watched, what is it, Barry Lyndon. And I watched it and I'm like, yeah, it's technically good. All the stuff I'm enjoying about it is stuff like, oh yeah, all the candlelit scenes were naturally lit. There was no artificial lighting, and he had to get like a NASA lens to pick up the low light. And but there was just something like technically everything, the acting and everything was good, filmmaking and everything. But there was just something. The story was missing something that I could latch on to and be like, yeah, I like that.
So
because like the time period just wasn't doing anything for me and all this stuff. This is kind of similar where it's like, I don't know, the future setting is probably one of the better ones on film, but it doesn't do much for me, and I can't explain why.
I can. I mean, I get it. So I'm actually in the same boat as you. Now, the reason why I say I guess I like it better than I did technically is because I'm a little older now. I can honestly say I didn't remember any of the underlying tones of the movie. I didn't quite get the concept. At least now I get the concepts that they were going for, which, I mean,
and apparently this time watching it, I had an idea of what I wanted the concept to be and didn't think they hit it, but apparently they did. I just didn't notice it because they didn't do it the way I wanted them to.
By default, I guess since I understand it better, I have to like it a little bit better. But no, it still leaves so much to be desired because I hate it because there's so much untapped potential here. Because on paper, if you throw that story at me and you give me a pitch, it sounds awesome. It sounds great. The story's great. I love the neo-noir feel. I like the dystopian future feel. I like the character. I like the story. I like Decker as a character on paper, right? I'm not saying they nailed it in the writing, but on paper, it's very cool. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't hate Rutger Hauer. I actually liked his character quite a bit. But it's once again, it's something that could have been, every aspect of it could have been amazing, but they ended up just kind of being kind of in the middle somewhere. They weren't as great as they could have been. And at the end of the day, I do give it props because I like all the things that inspired much better, right? Because this movie inspired things like fucking what's that, Snatcher, right? Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
And it inspired that.
And I think a lot of it has to do with hype because this movie, I think like anybody that didn't watch it, earlier hears all that hype and watches it, and it's like, it makes it harder to live up to it.
Well, like I said, it's just to prove that the concept and what they were going for is so good is, like I said, you need not look any further than the things that ripped it off lovingly. Like we said, Hideo Kojima has done it. In Snatcher, even in bits and places, even in the Metal Gear series, I'd say. You have Mega Man X. The whole story of Mega Man X is this movie, right?
Yeah, apparently there's a Blade Runner PC game that people really like too.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with that as well. But yeah, you're familiar with the Mega Man X story, right? Mm-hmm, it's the same thing. Rutger Hauer, it's a little different because Sigma doesn't show any compassion, but, you have the, what do they call them? The fucking... What's the resistance called in that game? The Mavericks, right? You have the Mavericks. It's the same thing. There was a mutiny. They were designed to do fucking grunt work and labor, and they rose up, and you had a leader of the whole bunch, and they decided to take over. And it's basically a very, very similar concept. And I've never heard it reference Blade Runner, but it did take it from Blade Runner. So I respect wholeheartedly what it did. But at the same time, should I be giving credit to the movie, or should I be giving credit to Philip K. Dick's original story? Right?
Yeah.
So, I guess that's the thing that bugs me the most is it's the kind of movie that's right up my alley. It's my genre. I love it.
I do. I want to really like this movie, but both times I was just underwhelmed.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't hate the movie. I don't love the movie. I don't know what I feel about the movie. I don't hate it. I think it's fine. I think it's a movie I could easily watch it again if somebody really wanted to watch it. Like, yeah, I'll sit down and watch it again. I'll try and...
Yeah, I'd love to watch it with somebody that really loves it and, like, listen to them talk about it passionately. And I like doing that.
And I'd love to watch it again, or maybe a different version, just maybe pick apart different things I didn't catch before. Because, like I said, it's a movie I can easily mention. I can mention almost as many things that are good about it. I could talk goodly about, there's things I can talk goodly about it. Goodly is not a word. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a good, but yeah. I mean, I'm not going to beat it up. Like I said, I like the themes. I like the tone. I like what they're going for. Visually, storytelling, it's great. It's fun to look at. I get it. The pacing was a little, I'm used to slower. Alien's a slow movie, right? So I'm kind of used to a certain pace. So it didn't bother me too much. Mm-hmm. It surprised me because I didn't remember it so well, and I kind of thought there was going to be a little bit more action than there was, and it kind of took a different turn. It wasn't quite the movie I thought it was going to be. But like I said, there's definitely good things to say about it as well, so I'm not just knocking on it.
What'd you think of the last act?
The last act?
I noticed this both times I watched it. What'd you think of it?
I don't know. What's your take on it? Where are you going with it?
I find it really dull.
Really, really dull?
Because by that time, I just, both times, by that time, I decided Decker is just so like, I can't do anything with this character. And so by that time, I'm just like, okay, hurry up. And end already.
I get it. What I don't understand is they give Decker no backstory. Now, if they were all on the same page saying, hey, we want to leave it ambiguous because he's a replicant, that would make sense why we'd have no backstory. But if the writer himself says, no, he was written as a human, why did he have zero backstory?
That's the only way the fucking point of the movie works, is if he's a human and they're a robot.
I mean, think about it, because he gets sought out. He's at a diner or like a food shop or something, and the cops come and arrest him, and he meets with that fucking fat guy from Critters. And he basically, we don't really get any intel.
What if he was never even really a Blade Runner? That's all part of the memory that he was just created right that day that he's sat there read that paper.
Look, he tells him, hey, you got to go do this stuff. It's kind of the pull him out of retirement thing, right? And he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't do that anymore. And he just kind of threatens him. We don't really know where it comes from. It's like, all right, you twisted my arm. He doesn't really, there's no meat behind that threat. We don't know what it really means, but there's something there. We don't know why he actually took the job. Like, what did he have on him? I don't know. But he didn't give a fuck, because if he really had something really good on him, he had no stakes for wanting to do this job. There's nothing. Like, well, I don't know why. He was like asleep the whole movie. But to be fair, man, I watched the trailer of the new movie, and he looks just as asleep in that too.
He does. It's just become a joke that's kind of how he acts in every movie. But they bring him back for. They prop him up, and he's like half dead or something.
So would this be a stupid question to even propose and ask? But this movie or Alien?
Alien.
Yeah, Alien's quite a bit better. But what about a rating though? What do you out of 10?
My highest would be like 2.5 out of 10. It'd be like a 5 out of 10. Like, my highest is that it's middle of the road, and if I'm not being really fucking nice with my rating, it would be just under 5, like 4.
Okay, so I think I'll be a little nicer than you are. I do think it's fairly middle of the road, but just for the legacy and what it's inspired and the things that. It looks too beautiful. Like it does.
It's really pretty.
It's got too many things going for it. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. That's what I would give it. I'm going to give it just a nudge above that, because like I said, I still want to like it. And it's weird because unlike a movie that I've given middle of the road scores to in the past, like the It remake and all that shit, I never want to watch those movies again. This movie, I can see myself watching it again in the future. Like there's still a curiosity. I want to dig into it more, and I want to like it more. So I can't say that about the other movies that I would give a 5. I don't know, because to me, forgettable. That's 5. 5 is middle of the road. I don't ever have to watch this again. It was just kind of meh. I can't quite say that about this. In ways, it is, like I said, lackluster, but there's something there. I don't regret owning a copy of it. I'll go back and watch it again. So I don't know. I'll say a 6 out of 10 for now. Hopefully it changes, but I don't know.
Yeah, my fucking ratings on movies are always changing. Like I'll rewatch a movie I watched a long time ago, and what the fuck was I thinking? This is great. Stuff like that happens all the time.
Who knows? I might be the guy that likes the director's cut. Maybe I need to watch the other cuts too. It's like remember, I'm rating the final cut. Which one is the definitive cut? I might like, because I think there's the theatrical cut. I think there's the director's cut for North America. I think there's another director's cut that was like European. There's 2 different cuts, because this collection has like 4 or 5 different cuts, and then there's the final cut.
That was the only version I could find, and that's the version everybody says is everybody says there's no perfect cut of this movie, but this is the one. Like, I guess he kind of did like a George Lucas on this one, where he erased, since it was came out on Blu-ray or whatever, he erased like for the flying cars there was like some wires visible. He erased stuff like that, and like the matting, like when there's like a picture-in-picture thing, he got rid of that stuff and then added that fucking unicorn.
That stuff drives me crazy, man, the George Lucas thing, because I want you to retain what dates the movie to when it came out, personally. That's me. So that, side note before we end this and wrap this up, you know who else pulled a George Lucas recently? Terminator 2, when they put it back in theaters. James Cameron, when they put it in theaters last year. right?
Oh yeah, what'd he do to it?
Okay, so they remastered the whole thing, obviously, and put it out in 3D, and they were touting it and showing you screenshots side by side, and it looks fucking gorgeous, right? Like the colors pop, and this wasn't just a half-assed job. They really put money into it. And I bought the 4K, and I have the 4K, and I watched it not that long ago, and it looks breathtaking, right? So all the regular scenes, have you seen this boy? Oh, it's a good looking boy. All those stupid scenes looks fantastic, dude. It looks like a movie that came out today. It really does. Like blows me away. But he added little things in the effects that I can tell. Like, So for example, T2 for me is amazingly notorious for all the shitty stunt double shots that you can see.
Oh yeah.
Dude, he CGI'd faces on all the stunt doubles. Like, I love that part where Arnold has the motorcycle and he picks John off his bike and puts him on his. And there's the part where he's like, driving after the explosion or whatever, and you see clear as day. Dude, he CGI'd Arnold's face. I used to look forward to seeing the Arnold imposter clear as day. And he took those out, and it's like, oh man, that's
dude. There's a part of me that can understand why somebody would want to do that for a movie, but at the same time, like it's art. Like imagine if the Mona Lisa he just shows up one day, he's like, yeah, there's this thing I don't like. Let me fix that. We wouldn't let him do that.
Well, yeah. So I get it. I think his argument would be, well, back then, if I would have had the technology, I would have done this because we don't want to show the double, right? And in those shots, it's impossible not to show the double. If you want to execute the shot the way he wanted to, like, you got to have it in slow motion. Arnold coming off of that explosion, jumping off the bridge or whatever. There's no way to avoid the dead on face, right? And to be fair, they got a double that looked a lot like him in that scene. It was pretty good. It was fine, but it was obviously obvious.
You should have shot from a side profile shot, fucking Cameron.
But then there's the scene where he's pulling John Connor off the bike. Man, that was always my favorite because he was kind of a less in shape Arnold guy. I loved it. And yeah, that movie, I don't know what it is, but that movie did a particularly not so good job at the double. For as well as they did every other area, you can see a lot of doubles in that movie. But
I never noticed.
Oh, you're crazy. But I get it. They would have avoided that if they could have back then, and if they had the technology, they would have used it. But that still doesn't work for me. It's like, yeah, but that was the date. That was the period it came in. It's like, that's like saying, hey, we're going to re-release Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I'm going to CGI a creature in there instead of that guy in the fucking costume because my great grandfather would have wanted it that way back then. Like, but that's not the way it was back then. Mm-hmm. So I love seeing those little bitty tidbits. Another thing, do you know what else they George Lucas out?
What?
Robert Patrick's cock.
It shows his dick at that movie?
Dude, you never noticed his dick? Okay, they show Arnold's dick in the first one. Remember, it's like swaying back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember that in the first movie, at least?
Yeah.
Okay, his dick's just swinging back like a fucking anaconda. It's a monster. Anyway, so they do it again in T-1000 when he at first appears, when he kills the cop, and, when he bends down and takes the gun and loads it, or, cocks it or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he turns his head. You see his fucking dick and balls hanging underneath his leg, clear as the sun. And I don't know. I could never fucking miss it. I don't know. Now you'll never not see it. Trust me, if you're watching an old version of it. And me and my brother were watching it, and we're like, because we noticed this stuff before the movie. Like, man, there's some doctored shit in here. Like, you could tell he cleaned it up. And he was like, I wonder if they're gonna take out the dick. because James Cameron was vocal about that. There's old interviews where he said, if you watch the commentary for the previous releases of T2. And James Cameron mentions during that scene that he hates that dick, right? No, because he says, I wanted to get my money back because we hired these people to digitally remove his penis. And fucking the movie comes out and the fucking dick is right there on a fucking 50-foot screen. It's like they didn't take it out.
Why didn't they just push him back so it didn't get filmed?
Yeah, I know. That's pretty fucking stupid, right? Maybe I think he's to blame too. But he was upset. He's like, and so that, I guess that, I'm assuming that's his justification why they took it out, because he originally wanted it to be out. But still, leave the fuck ups in, right?
Yeah.
And I never found the dick to be offensive.
I never noticed.
But I'm saying, even if you did notice,
well, apparently his dick was on screen without Robert Patrick's consent too. That's kind of a.
Oh yeah.
He thought they were going to not show it in the final movie.
No, exactly, too. He was probably like, well, fuck. He's probably in the opening of the movie like, oh, shit.
He's like, oh, it looks so much fucking bigger on this big screen, though.
But I think it's more about just what he wanted to show in a commercial movie, that he wanted to be this big blockbuster. And honestly, it's not offensive. It's not. It's cast in enough shadow, you know, and it's real. I mean, he's a naked Terminator. Is a dick really that offensive?
But you could say, would they even put a dick on a Terminator? They can't reproduce, or can they?
No, they can't. But still, they have dicks, because Arnold had one too. Yeah, what was his excuse in the first movie? Because he shot this dead-on Arnold walking towards the camera with his dick swinging.
See, I don't even know if I ever noticed his dick in that movie, too. I might have always tried to see it, but it's shadowed out.
Dude, that's another victim of the HD, dude. So, you know, when they shot it, they strategically made it shadowy in that area, right? So it is a little... I might be... Who knows? If I go back and watch a VHS right now, I might not notice it at all. Like, holy shit, I never noticed it on VHS. Maybe, I can't remember if I finally noticed it on DVD or not. Maybe it was DVD. But you watch that motherfucker on a Blu-ray, dude, and you see HD cock.
HD cock.
So it's just one of those things where time alters stuff. But I say preserve it. That's my thing. Hashtag save the cock.
Preserve the cock, too.
Preserve the cock. I don't know. I know that sounds weird. I'm just not offended by a dick. It's just kind of, I mean, it's fine. It's whatever. The movie's still good. It just always leaves a weird taste in my mouth that they changed it.
Like, dick always leaves a weird taste in your mouth.
It does. No, but it's the same. It's like when they remaster an album, right?
Yeah.
And they
make it louder, though. They made it louder.
Well, actually, remastering is not the worst thing. It's when they remix an album. That's the worst. So when they remix an album, that's like, no, this is... Sometimes remixes are good, or like Ozzy Osbourne, when he had a bunch of legal trouble with his original drummer and bassist for Blizzard of Oz and Diary of the Madman about 15 years ago or so. And so he re-released the first two albums, but he re-recorded the drum parts and the bass parts with his then solo band members. He re-put out the album with Randy Rhoads and his tracks, but he redubbed the bass and drums with new guys.
That's weird. Just because you didn't want to like pay royalties to the old guys?
Yeah, something like that. And so it's got Rob Trujillo on bass, and it's got Mike Borden of Faith No More on drums. And does it sound bad? No, it doesn't sound bad, but it sounds fucking weird. It does not sound like the original album, because they didn't master it. It sounds like a modern new bass track and drum track against this retro 1980 fucking guitar and vocal track. It just sounds not real. So that's what it reminds me of. So preserve it. Anyway, I think that's all we got. So that was the debut episode of this Cinema Enema. So going forward, hopefully you guys will... Obviously, you guys couldn't do it for this one because this is the debut episode. But going forward, we'll ask for your feedback, obviously on topics as well. I mean, we won't just kind of leave this in our court. You guys can pitch in ideas for that.
So I'll go ahead and tell what the movie I pick is for the next episode.
Sure.
We're trying to do these like at least once a month. So I picked fucking Happiness. Let me look up when that came out so I know they can get the right one.
No, for sure. So for Happiness, if that's going to be the next episode, you guys already know to put your thinking caps on and start thinking about questions about that film or topics you want us to discuss. Or
Happiness from 1998.
Okay.
Directed by Todd Solondz.
Doesn't even have to be a comment about the film or a question about the film. If there's anything else you want us to talk at the top of the hour, we'll do that as well. So start thinking about that stuff. And of course, as usual, make sure you guys are following all of our podcasts, all of our shows. Not sure if you guys are on YouTube, but if you are, we're there. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hitting the notification bell, sharing it with all of your kin, right? And also follow the direct links that are found there in the descriptions to take you to the podcast service of your choice. We're everywhere. And that way you can find either the Revival feed and subscribe to that, where it's going to have all of our shows, whether it's this Cinema Enema or it's the BTM Podcast commentaries, Mac and Zach Save the World, Deep End with myself, the brand new Hard to Kill podcast, which is starring Josh James of R-Rated Horror and a couple of friends in tow. So we got a lot of stuff. Or you could go and subscribe to them individually. You might not like all of them because they're all a bit different. So, but that's what's beautiful, spice of life and variety, as they say. I think that's really all we got. Is there anything else you want to end this debut with? Anything?
That's all I got, baby.
All right.
Hopefully, my throat doesn't hurt for the next episode.
All right. Well, you guys have been beautiful. We've been Aaron and Zach. Bye-bye, puppets. Catch you next time.